statelessness by definition means any person, right, who exists but are not a citizen of any country in the world. Okay, it's self-explanatory. The name is stateless, but unfortunately, it just flies over most of us here. So when we talk about statelessness, those are the people that we are talking about, right? People who do not belong to any country. The Federal Constitution has already addressed this. There are multiple parts within the Constitution, but there is one umbrella provision that says that any person who are born stateless, who are born in Malaysia, who is stateless, shall be regulated citizen by operation of law. Alright? That provision in of itself solves the problem. Okay, there are other things that we have to put up, the gender neutral provision with regards to and then setting aside the sort of marital connection factor into the issue. But primarily, in terms of statelessness, if someone is stateless, then they are, as far as the law is concerned, whether or not JPM acknowledges it or not, right, they are a Malaysian citizen by operation of law. Okay? So when we talk about, so we must reclaim our mind that when we talk about issues of statelessness, we are not talking of, we are not looking at people who are quote-unquote others. We are talking about people who are rightly Malaysians by law, but who are not Malaysians because of the failure of the administration to comply with the law, to facilitate the process of documentation and giving them their rightly and constitutionally right of citizenship. Alright? So this is an administrative failure. So please, when we are moving forward, right, I mean, just look at statelessness not as issues of this, but as illegal Malaysians who are sidetracked, who fall to the crack and therefore are deprived from all the other rights that Malaysians deserve.
I don't know why it's more depressing than it's actually in the law.
Oh yeah, it is very depressing because if we actually comply with the law as it stands, then we only have to make certain other, I won't say minor, but certain adjustments to it towards our citizenship law. Then we can improve it substantially, right? We can focus on more factors. We can focus on gender neutral laws, so therefore we don't have to just follow the they will consume the child was born out of wedlock. And somehow that factors in, even though one of the father is Malaysian, somehow that makes it national security, even though there are inter-country marriages with people who are in unions of the people who are not from Malaysia. Somehow that is fine. Like a piece of paper is the determinant of whether or not the child will be a national security threat. It doesn't make sense logically, it doesn't make sense administratively for us to just simply ignore these people because they exist. City and I can't remember the fake name for the other guy. But there's 10 children and there's 7 children. What I mean, you think they're not going to have the natural impulse to find love, to go create, to have their children of their own? One family alone to create a whole cluster of people who are stateless. Right? How many settlements are there in Sabah where they can slip into jungles and then open up settlements? Eventually, it will overflow. Okay? So, it just doesn't make sense, honestly. One, to ignore them because they are rightfully Malaysians and every day that they remain stateless is a deprivation of their right. And the government is responsible. Okay? Second of all, it just doesn't make everything and logistic sense. Just simply ignore them because they exist here, and then as long as they exist here, they will have impact on the society. In terms of from the health care aspect, the spread of diseases, right? Because they don't have access to healthcare, and therefore there is no way it would make it more likely that there will be an outbreak. They will spill over to the quote-unquote so-called legal citizens, right? Diseases do not care about your citizenship status, right? So, what should be done? is, firstly, of course, withdraw the amendments. It's ridiculous. Okay, focus on the administration of law, right? JPN must be put to task. Whoever is responsible for telling the officers at the counter, they know more than me, a lawyer, to talk about constitutional issues, including the program. How is that a thing that could happen? How can JPN have a standard operating procedure that tries to frustrate you legally obstructing the process? Right? It's crazy that no one has been put to task for this. Alright? And whoever it is within JPN, they are just civil servants. Saya yang menurut perintah. Siapa yang bagi perintah? Kerajaan kan? Kenapa tidak ada lagi mana-mana orang yang bertanggungjawab? Kenapa setiap Menteri Dalam Negeri yang ditakut pemerintahan mengulangi kesilapan yang sama, mengeruhkan lagi keadaan dan menambah lagi polisi-polisi yang menyukarkan orang untuk mendapatkan kewarganegaraan, yang menambah memindah undang-undang yang mewujudkan lagi ramai lagi warga yang tidak punya warga negara dalam Malaysia. Kenapa benda ini kenapa tidak sepatutnya perlu adalah ada task on inquiry or what have you, someone to look at why the law has not been applied as this, and then we move on to talk about it. I think that I don't want to take too much time. There are several steps, but the first step, withdraw the amendments, and then make sure that the law as it is complied with, and then you amend the law, the clause within the law, to have a sort of a complete redress of all issues of citizenship.
You know how the impulse that JPN is having over gender, who the parents is, which one is a citizen, what happens when humans finally achieve human cloning? I don't know. Okay, Dr. Kumar, I want to hear your solutions now.
I think I already said it. I think the situation in Sabah, I think I already mentioned it. I think maybe this actually is a political solution. In Sabah, because different communities see differently, we got to have things. And sometimes some of these issues actually are economic in origin. People are worried about jobs, worried about this. This Sabah is a very, very rich state. There's more than enough national resources. Everyone there now. So, and it actually would benefit everyone. People are productive, people can get education, people can have better capacity. This is, I think, something that needs to be handled at state level, the different communities are comfortable with it. And maybe a part solution would be, they are recognized, given recognized, short of citizenship, without the work, social coverage. It's the first step, and then later on we can move on. I think for Semenanjung, I think what he just said is very true. I mean, there's so many, about a few hundred, maybe even a few thousand people in Malaysia who are abandoned children, who up till now still don't have citizenship. The government can do something about it. They can actually, the welfare department can look through the records and see who are those who were brought up in welfare homes, who were abandoned, don't know their mother and their father. Can trace them back and use that one key, which says they should, by law. The law says, if you're born in Malaysia and you're not automatically a citizen of any other country, then you should be by law. You don't have to go for the minister to hate, Bukan urusan pribadi minister. It's something that's by law. You can use that and just solve the problem. And that's something that the minister, the current minister of family development can look into and actually solve it. The other issue is this thing about 15A. When you have the father Malaysian, mother not Malaysian, and the kids are just languishing. 15A, actually, the minister has got the right to decide on such issues. He can actually come up with an SOP saying, if you can identify the father is a Malaysian, and the child is being brought up in Malaysia, just give it to them. Instead of each case going out and taking 3 years, 5 years, and then it comes back as a no. So they can settle a lot of these things. But I'm not sure what the thinking is within the KDN. Why they think that they are protecting the nation by being so nasty with these people.
you, Dr. Kumar. Let's have Wong. Maybe you can cover something more like the solution that us ordinary citizens can do.
Kalau buat ceritakan solution ni sepatutnya kerajaan. Kalau kita yang memikirkan solution, patut kita yang jadi kerajaan kan. Kita dengan kerajaan cuma ya, saya ada kita mesti boleh bagi pandangan dan cadangan kepada kerajaan. Di sini saya setuju dengan rakan-rakan yang lain juga adalah untuk drop dari Regressive Amendment dan came up with SOP yang konkret dan transparent. Tapi kalau sebelum kita membuat apa-apa cadangan peraturan atau undang-undang yang baru, ianya kena melibatkan segala pemegang taruh, which is NGOs, aktivis, academician, lawyers, badan kehakiman, dan semua ini harus dilibatkan. Bukannya hanya kerajaan hanya ikut tekak seleranya kan untuk membuat undang-undang sukarti. Dan juga saya mau touch a bit pasal saya sentuh pasal kesihatan tadi. Ada komrad saya dari hari daripada Borneo Komrad yang hadir ialah dia salah satu rakan aktivis di lapangan yang dekat dengan komuniti, dan kalau mau tahu macam mana isu-isu tanpa keluarga ini kepada komrad saya, dia orang yang tidak dan itu solution dia lah. Kita kena libatkan semua segala program taruh dan kena selaras juga dengan perlembagaan. Tapi kalau kerajaan tidak dapat solution, kita pasti akan lakukan.
Thank you.
Ya, terima kasih.
Okay, thank you all. Let's open the floor for Q&A. If anyone wants to ask anything, maybe.
Saya lupa juga memaklumkan sebab tadi kita ada membincangkan sedikit pasal cadangan pindahan ni, dan next session bulan Jun adalah the debate and the third reading. Jadi di sini saya ingin mengambil kesempatan untuk mengumpulkan kepada kerajaan Madani, kalau mereka ingin teruskan lagi dengan the regressive amendment, kami tidak akan teragak-agak untuk turun ke jalanan. Turun. Jadi sekian daripada saya dan terima kasih juga kepada semua rakan-rakan yang hadir pada pagi ini. Saya petang.
If anyone has questions for Flo, just raise up your hand and one of our runners will get the mic.
So I'm Amir from Green Malaysia today. My question is to Mr. Zahid. So recently they dropped two of the proposed amendments, right?
Yep.
Do you think they should go with whatever they have now, or should they completely drop everything? What's your take on it?
Well, I mean, to be succinct and so that there can be no misinterpretation, withdraw all the proposed amendments. Because all of them. We're talking about the extra, yeah. I mean, of course, the foreign mothers amendment.
That is the trick.
The issue is just that because it's packaged under the table, right? That's why there were calls before that to separate all the couples. But they have not had any indication that they would do that. So it's either for all or none at all, right? So if they're not willing to the couple, then withdraw. Yeah.
Thank you, Zahid. Thank you, Amir, for the question.
I think Sabah, what there's data, there's no data. But I supported the wrong I think Sabah no, really, because there thousands of people in Sabah who are undocumented. They are not Malaysian either. So might as well they get themselves independent and break up. So that is the biggest threat here now. And Sarawak is showing the thing that the president they are preparing. They are calling themselves premier. They want their own parliament, and recently they want their ringgit. So they are prepared. So then we teach the Malaysians the federal government. So I think this should be a threat. Anak-anak muda Sabah should go and campaign for Leave Malaysia campaign, you know, because yes, this is very important. This is if they can use the tactic, kawinkan program, we use the same tactic. Leave Malaysia. I'm supporting self-determination Sabah Sarawak. Tubuhkan kerajaan Kalimantan Utara.
Terima kasih, Syam. Tapi Syam, kenapa tidak cakap bahasa Melayu, Syam? Okey, tapi ya, Syam, disebabkan bukan sekadar hal kewarganegaraan, tapi ialah banyak Sabah Sarawak dicabut oleh persekutuan. Tapi kita tidak boleh blame totally kepada persekutuan. Yang sepatutnya dipertanggungjawabkan oleh kepimpinan Sabah itself. Ya, oleh parti di Sabah. Orang tidak ada pandangan ini ialah tubuhkan parti baru. Tapi bukan yang membawa suara rakyat. Ya, ini reality political party di Sabah. Setahu saya ada 20 lebih political party. Recently ada satu lagi parti baru yang invited me to meet. Dia kata apa dia mau jumpa lagi. Tapi ya macam yang Cik Bayu cakap tadi, even though me I love it, but even like one of the MP from Sabah said, she tell me that, oh Wong, we cannot say about this issue. You know lah, kalau di Sabah kita cakap isu ni, vote we swing. Tapi bagi saya, kamu sebagai pemimpin, kami yang sepatutnya spread awareness. Bukan sepatutnya mengapi-apikan isu ni. Jadi mereka pemimpin politik di Sabah sudah mengikat kebenaran. Baru kita boleh apa orang bilang tu, baru kita boleh solve isu lah. Jadi baru kita boleh urge the federal government, bukannya kita mau jadi yes boss kepada federal. Jadi itu pandangan saya terhadap kritikan kepada pemimpin politik di Sabah.
Thank you, Wong. Any representatives from Sabah? Ada? Yeah.
Sabah Merdeka, Sabah Merdeka. Okey, terima kasih terhadap pinjaman tadi yang mengenai beberapa isu yang berkenaan topik ini. Tapi yang malangnya tidak ada data yang diberi. Asalkan cuma dekat Sabah juga mungkin ada. Tapi di beberapa kumpulan yang telah identify oleh Dr. Kumar di sini di Malaya tidak ada. So very difficult to push a public interest issue and educate the public if you don't have concrete data. If you don't have, then does the government have it? So the government thinks that we don't know. It's just like poverty, you know. Very easy to say they have wiped out hardcore poverty. Yeah. But hardcore poverty is nothing. It's only 1,189 ringgit per month per household of 4. So once you're 1,200, then you are no more hardcore poor, but you're still poor. Right? So let's be more nuanced in the way we advocate this issue. Alright? By having proper data, then all of us can chip in to help to push the agenda. We know there are many people. And many of you are too young to understand. In the 1960s, there's such an issue called Article 30. Almost 300,000 citizens in Malaya overnight lost their citizenship. Okay? They were actually estate workers. So these are not issues that have just come up like that. So saya minta kalau boleh mula dari PSM, kalau boleh tolong dapat data, kita boleh tolong untuk masuk dalam membuat ekspresi. Terima kasih.
I mean, of course, I just want a short comment. I mean, of course, if there is better data, then we would better address the specific needs of the community, right? Unfortunately, right, the thing is, with the collection of data, you have to gain the trust of the community. There is no reason for persons who are undocumented, who are at risk of exploitation and exploitation by unscrupulous individuals as well as enforcement authorities to freely offer their neck into the chopping board. So, I mean, if truly we are working towards, I mean, we can't really simply put one word over the other. We can't really say that we will only move upon seeing the data. The problem exists, right? But for us to be able to again get access to proper data, we must first gain the trust of the communities. It must work independently. I don't think it can work if it is separated. Of course, that should be ultimately a big step within the ultimate goal of the traffic statistics.
Actually, you heard about the data thing, but Sham, I think I don't generally agree with the session. Because, if you look at the world last 500 years, what's been happening is some of the richest companies in the West, in Europe, and Latin America, have been screwing us up. And they're still screwing us up. If you look at our wages now, our wages are about 1/8 of the wages in Australia, in the US, in Europe. So whatever we are producing for them, we're selling them at a discount. And they sell it, so the surplus from here is taken away. So this is going on. Initially it was by gunboats, then they came directly ruler. Now they've gone off to our governments, but we sign all these FTAs where we give national treatment. We allow ISPS, they can sue our countries, we allow the patents. There is still immense extraction of surplus from the third world. And when the third world countries are divided, then they divide and rule. They would love to chop up Russia into 3 different countries so they can divide and rule. So this is what this group in the West, the richest companies, the British East India Company, Dutch East India, now they're the Forbes 500. They don't take the wealth and share with their own people. They bring up their own people also. They take away their welfare and all that. So I think this is the overall framework we're looking at, of imperialism in various forms that still exist today. There's no question to talk about imperialism, but that is imperialism. There's a lot of surplus to be taken out from here. So we got to put everything else within that framework, So if we allow India, South India, there is a feeling in South India that we should be separate. The religion against that, Feeling in Punjab, we should have a separate Punjab, But if you chop up all these big countries, then it's easier for those fellas, the big companies in the West, to continue this imperialism. Maybe the issue should be more autonomy, more rights. We should fight for more rights for all these regions. But I think chopping up countries, I think, is the last thing that is like, because I put it about mine, and the last option, And I think it should be something we should make a political capital out of, That's my take on it.
We have one more question.
Hi, my name is Vinoda. Question is for Zaid. You mentioned something about internal regulations as part of the process. Have you been privy to the regulations and maybe can share what the regulations are?
Governmental SOPs, as far as I know and as far as I've been told, it's under the Obvious Act. So we don't know. It's not publicly available online. If you go to a counter, without the presence of a lawyer, because every time even imagine that even with a lawyer, you have difficulties just getting the form, right? So those who are unfortunate to have gone to the KPI and deal with them without any sort of legal representation or legal knowledge, they will just be turned away. They will either be turned to, even if let's say they deserve citizenship as of right, under Article 40, they would then be redirected to make an action under Article 15A instead, right? So that they would then be at the behest of the Home Minister instead of getting their constitutionally guaranteed citizenship. So I have never seen it. I don't think it has been disclosed. There have been, I think, in the previous administration, someone said that they were going to look at the SOP. But there was a follow up on that. And again, it is not something that is available online. What we can glean would be how we can determine that this is the SOP, is that it remains consistent. With regards to statelessness, when people go to JPN, they will be directed to Semenanjung, post Berjaya. And then Sarawak, I assume, they will just also be going to the HQ of the respective states. Right? And then they will be going to the same ringer. They will either be directed to a wrong application, they will be giving the wrong advice, or or if they don't have advice, they will diffuse the borang itself. And even if they somehow manage to get through, they will just be rejected summarily with no excuse or reason. So, I mean, however shape of the SOP is, then it's obvious that there is someone behind the scenes directing the European officers to act in that manner.
Yeah, let's have one more question. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's wrap up the session. Really appreciate coming. Thank you. And I'll pass it back to Danny, the MC for today. Thank you. Okay.
Alright, so now everyone dialogue. Okay, so the panelists dengan moderator boleh duduk di depan, and everybody can come and converge.
Semua.
Persilakan pegang plakat.